This is Ben Olson. I'm here this week with Cambridge Audio's CXN 100 streamer. This is the replacement for the highly regarded CXN version 2. Couple differences. They look virtually identical. This one has a slightly larger screen, a little higher resolution LCD. Roughly, it's the same. Where the changes really happen is they entirely rebuilt the inside. The streamer is now sporting a Sabre DAC. This DAC is a lot more capable than its predecessor. This DAC is capable of 32-bit times 768 PCM. It can do 512 DSD, and it can do MQA. People are chasing down MQA anymore. Not that I know of. It's not as huge in demand as it was a couple of years ago, but the point is this is a highly capable DAC. For connectivity, this streamer has USB-A and USB-B out, as well as Toslink and coaxial digital outs. But I mean, are you really ever going to want to use this as a digital out? I can't really imagine why. This really shows what it's capable of when you're doing analog out. I mean, you're utilizing the Sabre DAC when you're using either the RCA or the XLR line out. And as far as what this review is, that I am focusing on just the pure listening enjoyment that I get using this as a streamer. So I'm not going to point out that it's less featured as a preamp or complaints about that. This is really, to me, supposed to be used with a integrated amp or a preamp in that type of system. And so I'm reviewing this as a streamer. And I know the previous generation had a couple of features like that. This one doesn't. But using it as a streamer, this is definitely a step up from the CXN V2. And then as far as I hear people comparing this streamer a lot to like the Eversolo DMP-A6, and they cost relatively close to the same, but I mean, would you be shopping for say a Dodge Hellcat and a pickup? And they might cost close to the same. They're both about 85, 90 grand. But no, I mean, one of them's a truck, one of them's a muscle car. You're not going to be shopping for the same thing. And the Eversolo, if you really want a bright streamer that kind of is great for critical listening, where you might get distracted from listening enjoyment and pay more attention to the gear that you have, that's the streamer for you. But if you want to listen to your music and have a relatively analog and smooth sound, shopping for products like this is going to be more in your line. So the only comparison I can make is that they're a couple $100 apart, right? They're a different product and they are for a different shopper. The CXN 100 is definitely several steps up the chain from the CXN V2. We're talking about clarity, a little bit of spaciousness, a larger stage. This definitely has a little more sparkle on the top end. Doesn't reach anywhere near bright. I mean, this is still an insanely smooth streamer, and I really don't have a comparison for it at something at this price point. This really, if you want to spend about $1,000, or I think I'm seeing something about the price being increased on this a little more, but at least at the time of the recording, this is $1,050. In that price point, if you're looking for a streamer and you prefer an analog, more musical sound, this is definitely in your ballpark. This is what you want to look at first. Because of the smoothness, the CXN 100 sounds pretty great with heavy metal or, hardcore dubstep or some heavier EDM. It's just not going to fatigue you. It's a smooth all-day listening streamer. Some of our listening material on this, we listened to Chris Stapleton's Death Row, and I've heard that song on a lot of really expensive streamers. It was played over and over and over again at the Pacific Northwest Audio Fest, and at that year we had an MSB streamer, and there was some really interesting things about listening to that song and that streamer. Now, granted, it was an entirely different system, but the staging was really defined. And Chris Stapleton was like on a stage above you. But one thing it was so distracting from what we were hearing. And again, this is an extremely detailed, large sound stage with lots of spaciousness, but not distracting. It is a music lover's, a music listening DAC. Another that we listened to on this was Jim Morrison's American Prayer. That is Jim Morrison's solo spoken word. And again, the warmth and spaciousness of this streamer really lent to the psychedelic nature of the lyrics and the theme of that album. Another song that came to mind was Dominique Fields-Aimé Birds. What a cool artist. If you've not heard of her, she's from Quebec, a really great jazz artist. The song Birds. This really detailed how large of a sound stage. This portrayed an extremely large sound stage. Lots of spaciousness. It was without distracting us or getting too much into that, oh, we're listening to hi-fi equipment. It really presented large and spacious sound for that song. Another thing I noticed is we had a customer come in, play a lot of Metallica, and I can listen to Metallica. I'm not a heavy metal guy, not at all. It can exhaust me pretty quick. I can recognize that Korn they're musical geniuses, but it's just a little bit too much for my ears and my senses. But what I will say about this streamer is that this streamer is so smooth. I could probably listen to some of that stuff a lot longer. I found myself getting back into Metallica a little bit. I mean, it was easy to listen to it all day. And so what I would say is that the CXN 100 streamer has some competition if we're looking at price, right? But if you want something that is for music enjoyment, this is really it in that price point. I'm not aware of another streamer, an all-in-one streamer. And what I mean by all-in-one is it's a DAC streamer, not a separate streamer that doesn't have a DAC or whatever. But within that price point, this really seems to be the standout. It's got a really great balance of clarity and warmth and a nice analog sound. I mean, is it like turning MQA into vinyl? No, I don't know of anything that does that, but this is a great music listening piece, and it's really just ideal for all-day music listeners. But do not take my word. Come down to Olson's HiFi and listen to the CXN 100 for yourself.